All right, it's 10 o'clock. Let's get the show rolling. Welcome to Low Code Campfire episode 25 already. We are going to talk about making software beta and a lot of things today, but this is a weekly gathering where we get together to talk about techniques, challenges, experience, what's going on with Plant an App, and it's for all skill levels. We have all of our past episodes recorded on YouTube, so check out our YouTube channel. Make sure you subscribe to it. So that's youtube.com/plantanApp. We get together, we are getting more and more at actually having an agenda and a plan. I've got a plan for today. So, but we'll do first call. We'll talk about contributions to the websites. We've got some other things going on, and there's always a chance to jump in and participate. So have one rule, don't have a lot of noise going on in the background. Thank you for using the submission form, but here's access to it. It's also in the emails that we send out and things like that. So questions, topics, compliments for your host are always appreciated. So good morning, everyone. And yes, happy Friday. It's a great way to end the week. I think we've got a pretty good list of things going on today. So here we go. First call, what's on your mind? Nothing. We're just going to run my agenda.
Nothing pressing.
We can do that. All right. Well, so I have a big announcement. There's a permanent URL to the Campfire website now. So we are campfire.plantanapp.com. The old URL will still work, but we're like an official thing now. So that's
good.
We can convert over to that. And with that, let's go ahead and talk about contributions to the Campfire website. So I'm going to jump into that. We have a few, let's see, 2 or 3 since last week. The first one that I'm going to cover, I'm going to go a little out of order. The first one is that I've added QR login back in episode 53 of the Low Code Cafe. We did some stuff with QR, and specifically I built a QR login. And so I'm going to show you that is active on our site, and you'll be able to take a look at it and poke at it. But I've also added it to the login. So if you're inclined, you can use the QR login. And I mean, that other login will continue to work, but I have this set up to work. And so all you need to do to use this, the first time through, you would have to click the register cell phone button, and so it tells you exactly what to do. You scan the QR code, you enter your username and password. And at that point, your cell phone is registered with the system. And from that point, you'll be able to log in just like this. You hold up a phone and open that. And then from there, you can just hit QR login and we're in. So that solution, I'm going to go to that one here. That solution is there, and you can open it up and see how it works and see how it, the few things that it does. And also the step-by-step guide for that one I developed and published on episode 53, but it's still available here. You could click on it. So I saw Mark did a leave comments here button on his submission, and gee, that's a good idea. Hopefully we can get better at standardizing these and finding a nice way, but you can comment on it using that.
I have a quick question.
Yes, sir.
Regarding that QR login, is that basically an alternate method of like a 2-step login? Or
yeah.
So you're basically using your phone to authorize the login on the PC?
Yep. In a nutshell, I'm sorry, yes, the answer is yes. I was going to tell you what the magic is if you want the short version.
Sure.
During the register phase, when you scan this, it puts a cookie onto the phone. So all that's saying is now it's two-factor. You have to have the phone, and presumably you've got security on the phone. And then you have to know where to use it. So you come in. If you scanned this code, it wouldn't do a thing because the cookie isn't on the phone. When I scan it, cookies on my phone, it pushes it. Adds an authorization to a file behind the scenes, so that when I click the button, it says, well, is there an authorization present for this code? If yes, then log in, and it uses the login action and directs us to the contributions page.
That's pretty cool, Dale. I really like that.
Yeah, it's this could be enhanced to make it be more of a two-factor authentication, right? You could ask for a password here plus a phone. That would be two-factor. This is just really abstracting the username, password, login onto the phone, and it's a cookie on the phone, so there's no storing of the password or anything.
So it's not so much two-factor as much as quick login.
Convenience.
Yeah, convenience.
Quicker login or something to that effect, where you don't have to remember the username and the password.
But you do exactly. You don't have to remember the name and the password. You do have to have the phone.
Right.
So, and presumably you've got security on the phone. So it's not insecure. And anyway, you can, like I say, it would be easy to enhance it to require a password on the phone, or a password here as well. So you could do a 4-digit code or something to move it into actual two-factor authentication. But all the plumbing is there if you want to do something with it. And then on the login screen, I just added a link to this page. So this is an alternate login. Otherwise, you just use the standard one. So that's one contribution, and now we're logged in. We can talk about the other ones. I had a question come in on the help desk about SearchBoost, and I know Jim Anthony had asked about this previously, and at the time I was concerned there was a security issue. There wasn't, but I wanted to make sure before I publicly said. But when you can search the database, this is a form. We can search the database for anything and get our SearchBoost content, and this is returning a JSON then of whatever you searched for. And if we want to see what that is, it has all the documents that match that, and so you can then use the search results programmatically in whatever way you want to. I know we use this kind of this technique, for example, in our Plantain app. The documentation site for the old DNN Sharp content actually comes from somewhere else. Let me see if I can find this. Wow. Here it is. So this box here, when we search for something here, it's actually doing an API call and bringing information from a SearchBoost instance over into this documentation site, because this wasn't a Plantain app site when it was published. So you can use it to bring your search results elsewhere. Yep. Any questions on SearchBoost? And then Mark had a contribution. This was an enhancement. Whoa, what did I do? Oh, this redirected to the other site. We're going to have to sort that out. So we'll log in here again. Probably update those links to make sure we're having everything going to Campfire. But this is another version of and what we talked about last week of how we have this modified edit bar. I've implemented his original solution where it was a modified edit bar that takes up less room, but now this version also includes the ability to paste your favorite module.
Yeah, it's a pretty quick way to add modules, module picker, and what pane it's going to go in.
Yep. So, so now both versions are out there, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Good. So those are the contributions. Anybody who's on the Campfire website, and if there's anybody who is not part of it, I think everyone here perhaps is, but should put your email address on the chat and I will happily invite you to be part of that. But this just lets us put working solutions, and then that's a nice way you can be able to search for something that you're interested in and see how it was implemented, how somebody else did it, and include it perhaps in your projects. So a nice share and show and tell. Cool. So next, Mark had offered to talk about a file manager replacement and the need for one and what he did. Are you still up to talking about that, Mark?
Why, sure. Okay.
I'll jump out of
Get
the
the
way.
screen share going. Yeah, so the idea is simple, you know, when we're upgrading our DNN websites to go to, well, to get rid of Telerik, then we are encouraged to remove the standard file manager, which is now called Site Assets. Sorry, I can't think and talk at the same time. I'm looking for the right screen.
Run that on you.
Yeah, I don't see the one I want. Yeah, there it is. Okay. So yeah, so we're encouraged to remove the Site Assets module, which is what we probably know as the file manager. And then when we do that, we are offered a replacement, which is called the Resource Manager. And well, it just looks different. And I found it that I wanted to find something that looked a little more familiar and acted a little bit more familiar like the file manager. And so I remembered that there was a video done by Radu that was titled "Replace the File Manager," and so I went back and found that, and I just built it. And so I'm just saying that this is a relatively good alternative to the Resource Manager if you would like one. And basically, it also enables you to remove Telerik. So that's a goal that we've all got. So basically, it's just it's a action form on the left with the folders field on it, and it's just set to be open all the time. And it operates very much like the file manager does. So you click on the file you want to see, you can expand, you can contract. When you click on the folder, then the files show up on the right, which is an action form. Sorry, it's an action grid. And over on the action grid, we can do some of the standard things, like we can look at a file. Let me look at one that's not an SVG. Let's go to images. There we go. There's a picture, and it opened in a new tab, which I can't see because the controls are on top of it. Okay, so so you can do the preview. You can download the file with the download link. You can delete it, which I'll do now with one of them. Entities, common. Let's go straight to the files. Charles is a picture that I don't want, or I'm okay with deleting, and it's just a simple delete. Are you sure? Yes. And Charles is gone. You can also upload the files, and I know you guys know how to do stuff like that. So unless you want to see that, I can do that. I would say this is a simple replacement for the file manager. It doesn't have some features yet, but I think that it can, like adding a folder, deleting a folder, being able to download multiple files, which we couldn't do before, but I think we could now with this combination of tools. And really that's it, unless you have questions. It's all about finding an effective way to manage your files once the file manager is gone.
So
Yeah.
Mark, does that form filter the location and types of files if you properly coded it?
Yes, it does. And actually, I can't take credit for having created the code that does that. Radu did work it out, and I'll just show you. It he's on the video that he went through this process. He actually uploaded the code for this. It's just some SQL. There. So yeah, it qualifies which folders are being used and has the proper names and relationships.
I can see targeting. Yeah, I can see targeting that, like for a user that just needs to see invoices or shipping documents or something like that, to be able to quickly find it rather than navigate.
Yeah, he's got starting points in here too, so you could do that.
So was that SQL, I haven't looked at that particular tutorial that Radu did. Is it, were you able to copy and paste it from wherever?
Yeah, I just copied it and pasted. I went to look to see if the starting folder ID matched what I have, and it does. But you could also change it. You know, if I wanted to, I make a folder if my users are going to be in my site poking around. I make a folder and then I limit them to only get into that folder and its descendants, so they can't get into the site files. So yeah, this allows you to do that. Just change the file folder ID, and you're done on that one.
Yep, I can see that as a real value there for end user use, focusing them in on what you need them to do and staying away from things that you don't want them to touch.
Yeah, and I like this approach too with the action grid on the right, because we have full control over the action grid. You and I and the rest of us are smart enough to get in there and poke around with the action grid and change it to our needs, which makes it very much better than the old file manager, where we couldn't do most of that.
Yep, great. Any other questions?
Yeah, and just so you know, actually the team is considering doing this in the console as well. So in the plant and app admin side, we have the page management feature that is basically the same thing, built from forms and grids, and we want to do one for folder file management as well, because yeah, I think it's so much powerful. Yeah,
sounds great. Well, I know Rad who built this one you see here.
Rado built the SQL console as well that you see in the plant app admin and the page management. So yeah, he's making contributions to the product as well.
Yeah, he's great.
Great. I'm going to share again. So at this point, I want to go on. Bogdan had some features that you want to talk about in version 1.17 and maybe our beta schedule and things like that.
Sure. Yeah, so I think I will start with the schedule a bit, because there's still a couple of items that we wait for to get in. So I think our initial plan is that we'll code freeze today. So then we are able to start the testing next week and then the beta program on Wednesday. And I think we'll push everything for today. So we'll probably start code freeze on Wednesday and start the beta program on Friday. That's the plan that we discussed today. So there are a couple more items, and I will show them to you to see what's coming. They are not yet in the product, but I will speak a bit about them. Cool. So I'm really excited, and the team is excited about this release, because one of the major items that we took on is revamping the UI a bit. So this is the getting started page today. Am I sharing my screen? I'm sharing.
Yep.
Cool. So yeah, this is the getting started screen today. We had the 1, 2, 3, 4, and I think that was good 2 years ago. But in the meantime, we built the Low-Code Academy and the Learn. Actually, this is the Learn site. So this is an embed of the Learn site, and I think it's good for the first-time experience. Plus, this will keep changing. We keep adding content, switching, creating new types of easier content to get onboarded or things like that. So that's embedded here, but also notice that we redid this sidebar menu, so it's a lot more useful right now. I mean, first We added some nice tweaks here and there, so you could actually use it in collapse mode as well. You know, it's difficult to remember icons, but you have the tooltips now. We've also added the preview button here. Normally, you'd have to click on the application names to go back to it, but now you have the preview button that takes you back to the homepage. So it's useful. And we've also added a history button here that basically takes me to the GitHub repo. So if you are using the GitHub repository as a versioning, this one will take you directly to the versioning to see everything that's happening there. So it's a good, nice shortcut. And of course, if you don't have it configured, and right now we have a glitch, it will say a message like this: the current instance is not connected. You can go to general setting, and it's a link to connect it here. Besides that, we also added a menu here. So I heard this idea also in this Campfire, and it came from more people as well, to better link instances to all other systems that are around the application. Like, for example, going to the console to manage my application. You know? So this one goes to my apps list. You know? Or going to the support center. Again, it's something that you can go with a click of a button. Or going to the community forums. This was actually one that came from this group and from Ben especially, to be able to find these places, you know, because the instance it's just a part of a bigger ecosystem. You know? So these links got in here, plus the ability to log out. I think this was pointed out that you have to go back to the front end to log out. So it's useful now, it's here. Cool. And then we completely revamped this, so it looks much cleaner. And now we are in the process of standardizing the modules as well. So before I go on, any questions about what I showed so far, or suggestions?
It looks real nice, Bogdan.
Sorry?
It looks very nice.
Yes, I agree.
I have a question. That drop-down list that you showed at the very top, is that configurable or is that hard-coded?
For now, it's hard-coded, yeah. What are you thinking about?
Well, I'm thinking if we wanted to put our own shortcuts, either into that list that you drop down or into the menu itself on the left-hand side, it would be nice if we could add our own so we don't have to jump around if we wanted to go to a section of our own website that is our own management area for whatever.
Sounds like a good suggestion. I will note it down. Cool. Yeah. Also, I mean, we work. So, for example, if I put a long title here, you see it behaves nice, so it doesn't break the layout. So we really put a lot of love into it. All the things. So yeah, now we are moving on. So you know, we have standardized the how each screen works until you get to the old, you know, the DNN world, where it's different colors, different fonts, different UI, Bootstrap 3 UI. So we are revamping that as well, and we already did most of the work, for example, on the automation screen. And I will show this to you to see how everything will look like. This is Sharp Scheduler, basically. That's how it will look in this release. And it's the same idea. You don't have a workflow. You can create one. We revamped the forms a bit, so it's cleaner, same color, same font, same theme. You know, and then other than that, it's the same
functionality.
The same functionality, yeah. This is something that we'll have to test really well, everything, because yeah, when you change the UI, you don't know what buttons no longer work or things like that. So we'll have to retest everything. But yeah, basically same functionality is still present, just a bit cleaner UI. And the save button is always at the top on all screens. And then all the main buttons are always here. So I think that makes it consistent on all pages. And other than that, we split some sections. So it's tab navigation And also the license part, just this because people that don't have Plantain app yet, they will still have a separate licensing section. So this they will see this section. If you have a Plantain app, we'll hide this, so you'll no longer see it. It's all under general with the licensing. Yeah. So what do you think about this?
That's great, Bogdan. And I like the consistency that you're adding to it. That makes a big difference when things look similar from function to function.
Yep.
Makes it faster.
Yeah, yeah.
Agreed. I do have one suggestion.
Mm-hmm.
Not particularly on this, but something that you did or showed just made me think of it. This happened just recently, actually, with the tokens manager. Exporting tokens from the old DNN Sharp does XML. The new Plantain app does JSON.
Mm-hmm.
Could we add the ability to import the old XML in Plantain app as well directly instead of having to go to the old UI to import?
Yeah.
Because some people who are still in the old one exporting or whatnot, it's coming out in the wrong format, and then Plantain app can't easily import unless you open up the old UI.
Yeah, this has come up. I think we have an item for it. We haven't prioritized it because the solution, you have it here at your fingertips to do the old UI. I haven't seen the old UI in a long time, but oh my God.
Mm-hmm.
I'm in here every day.
Yeah.
So one thing on the old UI, Ben, is that I found this week is if you have a execute workflow token that you create, it doesn't show up in the old UI properly. So
Yeah.
Which is what you would expect. It's just like, oh, why does that token look weird?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we are no longer actively putting any effort into this UI. So yeah.
Makes sense.
It's a good point. It's a good point. I'm not sure if we'll add it. We'll see, because as long as we have this fallback, it's not something that you do 100 times a day. And you only do it until you upgrade the other systems as well. So then you only do the JSON. Do you think it's a big problem, or it can become a big problem, Ben?
I don't know. Like I said, it's just something that happened recently. I was actually, I was helping out one of the community members, and we were working on some stuff, and I was building tokens and Razor scripts for them. And in the process, I was doing it off of my development, which wasn't upgraded to Plantain app just yet. I was still on the old one. And these are old tokens that some of them I've written a while ago. So I just exported them, sent them to him. And then he's like, I can't import them. I'm like, oh, wait a minute. So then I had to import it into my Plantain app, re-export it as JSON, then send it to him again. Rather than explain to him, open up, my tokens and the, legacy UI, and then you could do the import. I just tried to make it easier.
Yeah. Agreed. I mean, it's a glitch, but it feels something that will go away by itself in a couple of months anyway. So not sure if it's worth putting our effort there. Cool. So in this release, we'll finish the automation. There's a bit of glitches, margins here and there to adjust. And the APIs was still under development. So I think the APIs will be ready as well. So this will be ready for this release. And then in the next release, we'll do the other ones like search, training, and then we'll also get on the front end. So the goal for our next release is actually to get into the end user-facing UI, so form, grids, tabs, to revamp to Bootstrap 5. It will probably be 2 releases. In the first one, we'll do it more for, actually we find a compromise that we do it just for the internal use. So here for the let's say the pages section, it will be done with the new UI. We'll not expose it to customers yet, so you'll not be able to use it in the first release, but then in the second release, it will become the main template in Action Form, Action Grids, and Tabs Pro, and the skin.
Can I
Sure.
ask something or suggest something?
Of course.
I have my own page manager that I wrote quite a while ago because there was one feature that I wanted to add to my websites that was sorely lacking, and that I make a lot of my websites that have miniature applications, and they're controlled by, you know, menu structure, and then you go into one item and everything underneath is all related. There are times that I need to make an update to that live section. So in order to prevent problems, I shut down that section temporarily, put it under maintenance mode without having to shut down the entire website. So other sections are still running and people can still go to the site. Is it possible to incorporate, since I see you have now your own page manager, to incorporate that same idea in here so that we can take a page, flip it into maintenance mode? Anyone that comes in there will just get a message saying this section's under maintenance mode and not let them go in. But we as the admins can still go into those pages and you know, make whatever changes and work we need to do.
Yeah, I think it's a very good idea. It's a very good idea as well. Yes. Cool. And also, I mean, this you know, this is a grid, so potentially you could get inside here and start changing it. You know, if you wanted to do something. Of course, I'm not sure what happens on updates when we update it. We are likely replacing it entirely, but maybe cloning it could be a good way to start. You know, yeah, I think. But I like your idea to make it built in. Cool. So yes, what I was saying is that yeah, the let's say the form and the Bootstrap 5 theme, we'll use it in our generated screens initially, because then we can just do the basics one, and then we can figure out what else is needed to get to the finish line. Cool. So that's it on the front end of it. The other big chunk of it is the app templates that I mentioned to you a couple of days ago, and that's also lagging a bit behind in terms of bugs. And I will not show it to you today, but I think I will demo it on Wednesday, perhaps in the local cafe. Another thing that, again, it's not here yet, but I would like to guide you a bit through it and also get your opinion about it. Is we've started renaming a lot of actions and placing them in the right category. So maybe I start with this one that we talked in the past, to change the entity category to list and objects. No, so that's happening in this release. The code is already there. It just needs to be included in the product. It's already complete. So then we came up with a bunch of new names about load entity becomes create list from Excel and so on. And then we have other with create entity, add list entry and things like that. So yeah, lots all this category changed to list and objects. So that's a change that we discussed a couple of weeks ago also here in this Campfire. And the other big thing is we are also rearranging a bit all the categories and actions, placing them in the right folders. So, for example, there's a DNN folder for actions that has some file-related actions. This will go to the file management section. There are some that are in the DNN short group that are just UI actions. We'll move them to a category called UI actions, like opening grids in pop-ups and forms in pop-ups and things like that. There's a save file to disk in the document section. We are going to move it in the file management section. The documents will be just PDF, Word, Excel, you know, so more working with higher level items. There's 2 groups for Dynamic CRM. We're compacting in one. And then in the file management, there were some actions that again were about documents. So replace tokens in Word document, convert HTML to Word. This we are moving to the document folder. So then file management is more like low-level disk functions, whereas document is manipulating rich documents, rich formats. Same. This one is. This one was an output action. I couldn't figure out why it was in the output category, but basically it says get sheet names from Excel files. So this moves to the document section. The plant and up workflows, we are going to name just the workflow. And then we are creating we are moving the log job context to the debug section. So yeah, tidying it up a bit, getting rid of some actions because that action list got quite big. And I think making it more intuitive to find things. This is something that I started an initiative with every release to do a bit of cleanup as well.
So just as a reminder, all of the changes you just talked about, it'll change where they appear, but it will not have any impact on existing applications.
Yes, nothing will break on upgrades. It will just change where you find them when you need to add new actions.
And in the same way, the ones that we renamed from entity to get rid of the conflict with our core entities, the names will change, but nobody is impacted. You'll have to know the name changed if you're looking for it, but it will won't break any code.
Yes, that's correct.
Bogdan, did you say that those changes are in 1.17 or for a
yes, these changes will be in 1.17. All this renaming will be in 1.17.
Okay, and so you said entities was changing to lists, is that right?
Yes, lists and objects, because apparently we have some more complex actions that are about creating a complex object. Very interesting. Like this, I think today is called create entity item, and it's basically a complex object where you can have properties that refer to other lists. So you can create a complex object, and then you can serialize it as JSON, and you have a complex JSON basically.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, I get it.
So create entity item is going to become create object or something like that. And we're also working on the documentation to that one, right? I don't think those were documented previously, and so we need to know.
Yep.
It'll be another tool in our belt, but as it was, we got the question. I couldn't figure out what they did, so we kicked it to development to explain it.
Yeah.
Well, I know we already talked about it, but I, for one, just want to speak up and say I'm really glad you're renaming that stuff. I think that's great. The previous stuff was usable, but a little confusing, at least, starting out, especially. So I'm glad you're making the change.
Awesome. Thanks for your ideas, feedback. I took notes. And that's everything that I wanted to show. And of course, when we'll kick off the beta stage of it, we'll provide better the changelog. So we are already working. So the changelog is there in an understandable format, also with a rich description on what changed, what needs to be tested.
Okay. Yeah.
Good deal. So next on the agenda, we had a submission that came in pretty much right before this. Matthew's asked about Plant an App and the EasyDnn Advantage Skin. And I took a quick look at this, and looking at the Advantage Skin, I see that it's Bootstrap 4, which that's probably the area where you're having problems since we don't support that well yet. So on the topic of Bootstrap 4, Bogdan, do you have any notes about where we are in that process?
So yes, as I was mentioning earlier, it will probably be 2 releases away until it will be compatible. But we are looking at Bootstrap 5, so you go directly Bootstrap 5. But I think Bootstrap 5 and 4 are a lot more compatible, so I expect that it will be a lot easier to fix if there are glitches.
Yep.
That's good.
So Matthew, I guess in the long term, there's an answer coming. In the short term, I think we've had some limited success about how to get around some of these things, but this is probably the group to ask. Do you want to?
Sure. So Bogdan, a question for you: rough approximate timing for, when this might be available. Do you have an idea yet?
Well, probably we are taking around 1 month per release right now. So then it will probably be mid-January, I expect. So
Okay.
the next one, this one will be mid-November, mid-December, and then mid-January. Probably, I would say, let's say February, because we have the holidays in between.
Yeah. Okay. So in the meantime, it's been addressed before in the old, the old action form, action grid world, basically by using the DNN print mode, and appending a URL to essentially defeat the skin you're using. And that's had some level of success. So the question is there a reliable way to do essentially the same thing in a Bootstrap 4 type environment? So in other words, if I've got an action grid, let's say, and I want to open a pop-up form, is that, in today's context, is that even a valid question to ask, number one? Number two, if so, how does one go about it in today's paradigm to make that happen?
So it's funny that you ask this, because just today we are looking at the same issue. And we are redoing also the Plant and App website, and the new skin is, of course, Bootstrap 5. Actually, we just loading the JavaScript for Bootstrap 5, but that's not compatible as well with action form. So I'm not sure if this was the path that the team took, but one suggestion was we can use the Bootstrap 5, or in this case, the Bootstrap 4 JavaScript directly to open the pop-up that contains an iframe. And inside the iframe, load the form from a different page. So then the form is its own iframe, loads its own resources. So then there's no conflict.
From a different page, though.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay. So if I'm hearing you correctly, in today, there isn't a way to effectively defeat it, to implement the old, if you would, method of using the DNN print mode and that whole query string. Am I correct?
I mean, if you are going to do the iframes, yes, you can. Of course, you can.
All right. So basically, it's a different technique.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. All right.
I'm not sure if I understood right everything that you asked, but I'm hoping that anyone else here has ideas.
This is Albert. Actually, we had something like this come up before. We were using Mandeep's skin, and what we had to do is create a separate, skin or page, and we had to comment out the Bootstrap 4 and just only allowed, because I think that skin actually had Bootstrap 3, and then it had Bootstrap 4 that overwrote any of the Bootstrap 3s. So what we had to do is I had to actually comment out the Bootstrap 4 line of code in either the CSS or the JavaScript, and then we just let it fall back to the Bootstrap 3. I don't know if that's how it is with EasyDnn, but that's how we got around doing it. And we just create a separate page just for that page that you're using, that you needed the pop-up, or maybe the page itself, you could probably use it that way. But that's how we had to go about doing it. And it worked fairly well that way. It was pretty successful.
So essentially a custom theme modification to avoid Bootstrap 4.
Correct, yeah. You just basically comment out the Bootstrap 4, and then it fell back to the Bootstrap 3, which works really well with the action, the DNN Sharp modules, or in your case, the Planet app.
And in that case, Albert, you applied that modified skin to the pop-up page, the form page with the pop-up, the page with the form on it,
Correct.
and then called that from, say, Action Grid or wherever, and then popped it up, and then it brought its own modified skin with it.
Correct. Yeah, it would reference that specific skin.
Okay.
Yeah. And that seemed to work. We had used it several times. Yeah.
Okay. So from an ease of, first of all, looking forward to the fact that in not too many cycles, we'll have a more permanent solution. What would be the better way for me to go to, Bogdan, from your perspective, pursue the iframe method, or I don't even know. I haven't looked at the skin, at least with Mandeep's. As you said, you commented out Bootstrap 4. I don't even know yet whether this skin takes the same approach of loading both 3 and 4. I'm going to guess not, but so any thoughts?
I think, the Bootstrap 3 and 4 have slightly different classes. So if you take out, let's say, Bootstrap 4, the skin is likely to break here and there. So then you have to fix some things. So then also what we do, we scope the Bootstrap library that we want, so it doesn't affect the entire page. So from a CSS perspective, they can work well side by side. It's from the JavaScript perspective when things break, when you need to open pop-ups, drop downs, things like that. So then from this perspective, there's a lot of content on, I think, on the help center, on the community portals with various hacks to try. And I know people got it to work in the end one way or another, but it's something fragile, I think. So now if you need to be smooth, to be on the same page, you will go to the extra effort to do those hacks. If you want the easy way, it will load slower because it's a different page, an iframe. So it will be a bit slower experience, but then you'll be safe. You don't have to worry about anything.
Well, what I'm looking to do right now is, first of all, from the form perspective, the forms that I have in mind at this point are very straightforward. So I wouldn't necessarily, I wouldn't worry too much about styling per se, because it's more just strictly data entry. So that would kind of lean me toward the iframe type approach. And in just getting this project that I'm working on, getting it to market, it's much more about, at this point, time than speed. Later on, I can add the speed as the platform evolves and as things evolve. So I probably would be interested in more about the iframe approach, I think.
Yeah, makes sense.
Okay.
In the grand scheme of things, the iframe approach probably would also last longer than any of the other hacks.
Yeah.
Because I'm thinking if something changes either with the Plantain app or with Bootstrap or skins or whatever, if you try to do any type of hack, it might break during an upgrade. Whereas the iframe, because it's more encompassing itself, it's probably going to be able to survive those updates better and not break your site in the process.
That would be good. Thank you. Thanks, Dale. Thank you, Bogdan.
Absolutely. Thanks for submitting it. Let's put it on the agenda. And we are at the end of our agenda. So what else do we want to talk about? What else are you facing, or what cool are you doing?
Well, I have something to say. I guess it's a share. I'm putting some finishing touches on an iPhone, but it's a progressive web app that I built with DNN and Plantain app, and it doesn't involve any other service. So it's almost ready for prime time. When it is ready, I'll be happy to demo and show everybody how that can be done without the extra tools. I'm really excited about it, actually. It's turning out really nice.
Yeah, sounds interesting. You know, we took the whole Adalo path for a while, and that allows an easy solution if you are happy to pay the $50 a month. Go in the direction you are. You put the investment in on the front, and then you're going to be able to use it forever, right? And
well, yeah.
I
think it hit. If you could do it all in DNN, all in Plantain app, I see some advantages, and I liked the Adalo. I'm, not trying to say anything derogatory about it. I just wanted the flexibility to build it all in one environment without involving two. That's one thing.
Yep.
Secondly, I think once this first app is done, I can copy and paste an entire Plantain app installation, and then I have a second app. Just put some rebranding in there and some different titles, but all the functionality is going to be there. I don't think I could do that with Adalo or anything. So, there's several advantages.
And I just wanted to say, as much as anything, I mentioned that previous episode only so that people who look at this after the fact, there are options, right? And I mean, I think everybody on here knew that, but the thousands of people that download our YouTubes every day need to know this. There's lots of different ways to.
Sure, I like Adalo. Yeah, no problem.
I'm looking forward to see that, Mark. And now that you've mentioned it, just last week we had this request from a customer that I thought it was very, very interesting. He's building Chrome extensions, and he wants to embed action form in the Chrome extension.
Oh,
there were some security issues that our team helps with. I'm not sure if they already got it working, but that opens again a new world of possibilities.
Wow, it sure does.
Yeah.
Hey, Mark, that sounds very cool. Now, you mentioned iPhone. Is that specific to iPhone, or is that iPhone and others?
Yeah, well, it's making a progressive web app, which is really cool in the respect that it's platform independent. So it's a website. So it doesn't need an iPhone or an Android or anything. It's just a website. The method of installing it as an app is a little bit different for an iPhone versus Android. But other than that, it's just a website.
Love to see that.
I'll be glad to show it to you guys. It's almost done.
Cool.
All right, give me the heads up. We'll put it on the agenda.
Okay.
All right. Then in which case, let's wrap it here. We'll get together again next Friday, and we appreciate the ongoing participation and everyone helping with contributions. And Ben already updated all the URLs where I ran into a problem earlier on the Campfire website. So we are, again, I just appreciate the community. We will see you guys next week.
Good to see you guys. Have a good week.
Have a good week,
everybody.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody. Thank you.
Bye.